When I was growing up, I was taught in American history books that Africa had no history, and neither did I. That I was a savage, about whom the less said the better, who had been saved by Europe and brought to America. And of course, I believed it. I didn't have much choice. Those are the only books there were.
Welcome to another episode of the Semi-Americans podcast. This is your host, Emmanuel Branu, and Daniel Yu, along with Eduardo Ramirez from a distance, because he's feeling unwell. This is part 2 of our episode with Jeff Pearce. We had so much content, so much great content, that we had to split it up into 2 episodes. Now, the first episode was more so concerned with his travels to Ethiopia recently and the situation that's ongoing as the TPLF terrorist group continues to kill innocent lives and continues to displace millions of Ethiopians. Now, the second part, we're going to delve into his new book, The Gifts of Africa, How a Continent and Its People Changed the World. So we're going to get into some questions regarding the book, the writing process, and Jeff is going to give us his insightful comments. Thank you for joining us.
You want to try and sell my book? Yeah, you should sell my book. Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
So, yeah, to get into more of a background on yourself as well as the reasons to why you wrote The Gifts of Africa, I wanted to get an understanding on what sparked your interest on the continent, right? Specifically coming from someone such as yourself with your background.
You mean white?
Right? You're a white guy from Canada.
Wait a minute,
right?
I'm white?
Toronto.
I'm white? I haven't checked.
So
oh my God, I am white.
So I wanted to see.
Oh no. Oh no, I have no rhythm. Prevail was an unusual success. And by that I mean, here's a book about an Ethiopian war against Italian fascists. And I didn't write this originally for Ethiopians because I assumed Ethiopians knew their own history, which was naive because not many do. And that's not their fault. It's because they had a psychopathic Marxist regime come in and completely destroy the history. And then you had a new set of psychopaths in terms of the TPLF lie to them and take away their history that way. So there are Ethiopians who do know the history and Ethiopians who don't. And Prevail was such a fascinating story because the Ethiopians win in the end. And how many stories do you see where Africans win? You know, every book you ever see on a shelf is about colonialism, and then they took over Nigeria, or then they took over Algeria. And so after doing Prevail, I was shopping around going, I would love to tell other positive stories in terms of the African continent. And there were, you know, I would have to really look hard for that. But then it occurred to me, when I was going through school, they would talk about the Renaissance, and they would talk about, you know, this is what Leonardo da Vinci did, Michelangelo, this is what Tycho Brahe gave, oh, the Europeans did, oh, the Chinese, they were working with movable type in the 1300s. They would give this whole, versions in terms of civilization. And then you go, well, what did the Africans give us? And there's nothing, crickets. And if you actually go online now and you hunt around, you will find only 2 books, really, that even attempt to give a summary.
It was really interesting kind of seeing the difference between the more touristy areas and then the actual, hey, this is the countryside, or this is the more not as populated areas, right?
What did you observe?
Because it was interesting because actually one of my friends that was there is actually one of Jane's old roommates, and she's from Vietnam. She was born and raised. She literally